I might as well say a few words about the bushfire, because Alice's brother Jim lived up at St Andrews, and word came down that the fire was in that area, and Uncle Lin said, "I'd like to come up with me. We'll go up and see if we can help Jim with his bushfire precautions," because on that particular morning it was said that St Andrews and King Lake and all that area was in danger of a fire. It would have been January 1962. That's right, not 61. So I went with Uncle Lin, and we got as far as Panton Hills, and the police said, "Oh, we would like to commandeer your truck and load it with men, and they can accompany the Camberwell Fire Brigade that come up there." So we got probably 40 blokes packed on the back of Uncle Lin's fruit truck, 5-ton Bedford, and there was me and Uncle Lin's helper. I just forget his name now. Anyway, we went from Panton Hill, and when we got to St Andrews, we never ever reached Jim's property, but at St Andrews we were told to go up to a place up a road called Wild Dog Gully, and the Campbell Fire Brigade was leading us, and we were issued with, I think, sacks. That was about all they had to beat the fire out. We got, and the policeman came up with us. The policeman came on a motorbike behind the truck, so it was a pretty narrow road, Wild Dog Gully was, and there was a chicken farm way up the top, and the policeman had said, "Well, it's the one house up there that might be in danger if the fire comes." So we get up there, and yes, the fire would probably be a mile away. We could see it was coming all right. The sky was blood red. There was no sun. It was just a red disc in the sky, and the smoke, it was blowing furiously. Well, we could see the direction of the fire. It was coming. It would go down one hill, up the other, and it was coming directly for us. And the policeman said, "I'm sorry, blokes," he said, "I'll have to leave you." And he said to Uncle Lin, "You do take the truck out of here, because this fire's going to come, and that we got right in the line of the fire unless the wind changes." And he said, "I'm sorry I've got to leave you blokes," he says, "you'll have to fend for yourself as best you can." So that was great news. By now, as I'm talking, the fire had already come. It was coming at a furious rate, an unbelievable rate. It would race down a hill, up the other side, and it seemed to roll ahead like a wave, and the tops of the trees, it's such an exciting sight, something unique that I'd never seen, never likely to see again, I hope. But it was coming so fast that you did not have time to be frightened. Well, some of us said, "Let's burn the grass around this house, and at least we can have a fire, but somewhere we can lay down." There was water in the tanks, and we got our sacks. We went into the house and got as much cloth as we could, old sheets, and tore them up and dipped them in. But we had a few buckets, and dipped them in so we could wrap them around our head, so we could hardly breathe. It was getting worse all the time. The smoke was getting blown ahead, and you could feel your lungs burning. Anyway, when the fire would be about 2 ridges away, we knew it was going to come right up, and the smoke was awful. The air was hard to breathe, and we just couldn't do much at all. It was hopeless trying to think about fighting it, because the flames were leaping tree high. That means 50, 60 feet in the air. So it came down. Well, when it was at the bottom of the next hill, we said, "Right, this is it. Everyone lie down, chew on your wet rags, and just have to hope that it goes over us." So we did. We lay on the ground with our face down, the rag in our mouth, wet. It didn't take long to dry out, but we had a bucket we could dip. But anyway, the last few seconds, I don't remember anything except a huge roar, and it came right across us. We were on the top of the ridge, the house was, and we were all laying on the ground. And I rolled over on my side, and I could see the eaves of the house burning, and the fire had gone on. In the time it takes to talk, the fire had gone on. I turned over the other way, and the tops of the fence posts were like Roman candles. But we could breathe all right. We got up, and Ian White was Uncle Lin's worker, and I said, Ian, get on my shoulders and you beat the flames out, because the eaves of the house were starting to burn. Not a pane of glass left in the house. We didn't hear anything at all of the windows smashing with the roar of the fire, but every window was gone. Ian got on my shoulders and he was beating out the eaves of the flames that were just catching the eaves. And I remember I looked into the chicken house, and there was maybe 10 bags of wheat and grain, and the bottoms had burned out of them, and the wheat was cascading out like a waterfall onto the ground. And we went around, it was 30 or 40 of us, we all went round and just checking on things and putting the fires out with what little the water there was. We then became aware that we were incredibly thirsty, even with a rag. We went in the house and took every drink out of the fridge we could, put on the kitchen table, and we had a drink of anything that was there. There was a bit of cordial water and such. And we left a note saying, sorry we ratted your fridge and pinched everything and had a drink, but we saved your house. And then we had to have the long walk back down to St Andrews. And on the way, the bush, there was branches crashing. We had to watch out, crashing from the tops of trees. It was a very bushy area. By now the fire had disappeared. It was well away in the distance. Maybe, I don't know, 3-4 kilometres away. The country was blackened and just smoking, and logs were lying here and there. But I thought we'd had a very, very good escape from that. Nobody was hurt, and it was good that we made a fire break. Always remember, keep your head down, keep you as low as you can in a fire, and put a wet rag in your mouth. That helps filter the hot air out of your lungs.
So you were sheltering in the open, were you?
Dead in the open, all around the house. It was a flat top. More people were killed by smoke than there are by flames, believe me, because you can't breathe it, absolutely. Your lungs are like a red hot poker in them. It's an awful feeling. We walked down the track to St Andrews, and just beware of timber, keep your eye up atop there and ready to duck out of the way. We got down to St Andrews. I went in the bar and had the publicans standing drinks for everybody. There was lemonade drinks, there was beer as well if you wanted, and there was Red Cross people there, and they dabbed your eyes and sort of cleaned your eyes out of it, because your eyes are very sore and that. Go in the bar, and I saw the policeman. He looked like he'd been just come out of a rubbish dump. I said, what happened to you? He said, well, he said, after I left you and your brother-in-law, well, Uncle Lin had gone, he ended up down in near Warrandyte. He was fighting a fire there with others. Anyway, the policeman said, after I left you, someone said there's an old couple living down the road in a house. And I went down there and I got the pair of them, and we went into the dam because the fire was coming nearby, and I'm standing in the dam just with their heads out with these old people, one on either side of me. And I said, he said, you know, nothing happened to my motorbike. My motorbike's on the bank of the dam. It was just in the best clearing I could find, and the fire didn't touch the bike. So I got the old people back here to the hotel, and they were sitting down in the lounge, I think. Yeah, so that was a day to remember.
Did you go on to the hall at St Andrews,
research.
Or did you go somewhere else?
No, yeah, we were at the hall. We saved the hall. That's right. And while we were down there, the fire must have come back, swirled around, and someone yelled out, the grass is alight. And behind the St Andrews Hall, the trees were ablaze. Great Roman candles over high trees there. And there was fire come through the grass, and Ian and I got under the hall with a few others with sacks, and we were beating out the flames that were creeping under the hall. Well, I heard a rumbling over my head, and I said to him, gosh, don't tell me the roof's fallen in. Well, actually it was someone trundling the piano across above our heads, trundling a piano across to take the piano out to save it in case the hall went up. It sounded just like it was a rumble of a roof falling in above us. Well, we saved the hall, and I say it was good. The hall was not that far away from the pub. The pub was saved. I suppose that was important too. It was a real day to remember. Anyway, eventually By now it's late afternoon, and we got on the Campbell fire truck, and there's other trucks that come in. We went around the hills, and we were beating out a few fires, and it was dark. By the time it was dark, we were still around the hills, and eventually we made our way with the Campbell Fire Brigade back to Research, and they had a station set up there. There was women making sandwiches and drinks, Red Cross people, and I don't think there was much in the way of state emergency service in 61, 62. That might have come afterwards. There was certainly no radio communication. No one could talk to anybody. The police may have had radio, but I didn't hear anything happening. And I don't know, the Campbell Fire Brigade didn't. Anyway, at Research, apparently the telephone was working, and I must have rang up. I got to Donbar. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning by now, and I think I spoke to Mum. I said, "We're at Research. Tell Harry Garson if he can to come and pick us up here." And I'm waking I over here. Okay, we waited around, and later on Harry came over and picked us up and took us back to Donbar. So we probably got to bed about dawn that day. Tired, dirty, filthy dirty. Couldn't care less. Just lay down and slept.
So Lin...
He was fighting a fight. He came back to Donbar and got his big sprayer out, orchard sprayer, filled it with water, and he was using that, spraying water on fires over Warrandyte way somewhere. So he was busy.
Did the fire end up at the back of his property then? Or
it came in close. It came into Warrandyte and probably onto his back boundary. It didn't come through his property. There was a few people killed, probably 7 or 8, I just forget now altogether. But it certainly, it was a fierce fire.